Welcome back to the How to Find Your Moxie podcast. I'm your host, Lizz Carter Clark, author of the book How to Find Your Moxie and the founder of College Moxie, a nonprofit whose mission is to empower every woman to know their worth. Our hope today is that you will get some little nuggets to help you move closer to a life lived with confidence, joy, and love so that we can build stronger, more supportive communities wherever we find ourselves. Welcome back. And I'm so happy we've got Mackenzie with us again.
Hi, Liz. So happy to be here. Yay. How are you feeling today?
I'm good. I'm really good. I got some good rest and I'm just feeling the energy of today and we'll see how long it lasts.
Same. I can't wait to get into it. I'm good. Also had a great night's rest and I'm just happy to be here and I'm excited for our conversation today. I think it's going to be really good.
Me too. So today we are talking about comparison, and I feel like this could be its own podcast.
Yeah.
Truly.
100%. We could talk about it for days.
Yes. So for anyone who doesn't know you, do you want to do a little intro?
Yes.
Should we play rapid fire?
My name is Mackenzie. I am a senior at the University of Arizona. I'm from Oregon. I'm from Portland. But yeah, and I'm finishing up school, getting into the real world. We'll see.
Love it. All right, rapid fire. What has been your best memory of college so far?
I was very lucky to spend a semester abroad in Barcelona. And so that was by far the best college memories I've taken. We got to travel around with a group of like 10 girls and explore. By far, I'm going to take that with me the rest of my life. That is
so fun.
Ingrained in me.
Yes. I love Barcelona. It's an amazing place. Good for you. A whole semester with just girlfriends. That's so fun.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay. Name someone who has shown up for you this year.
My friend Whitney, I went through a breakup a couple months ago and she showed up more than I could have ever expected and the biggest blessing. And I think the people that show up for you when you don't ask for it are the people to keep around. Those are the best kind-hearted people ever.
So real.
She deserves the world, literally.
Cheers to Whitney.
Whitney.
Yay.
I know she's watching this.
Whitney. I love it. I want to be friends with Whitney.
She's the best.
Whitney sounds awesome.
Angel of human. Angel of human.
Okay, so let's dive into comparison. Ooh, this is meaty. This is a lot. We could spend weeks talking just about social media. But I have a lot of curiosities around at what point did we decide that we were not enough? How does comparison play into how we feel about ourselves?
Okay.
Where are you with all of this?
I think comparison starts from a very young age. I think the second we're put into any sports or anything, you're kind of comparing yourself. That starts from a young age and just continues throughout your life until you start really diving into it and breaking down what that is for you.
Yeah. It's funny. I had not actually thought about do we compare as children? But there was this little girl that lived in our neighborhood and my dad used to give her a ride to school with me. And I think I was in first grade and she was in kindergarten. So I had to wear a uniform already, but she got to wear her own clothes. And every day she would get in the car and go, I bet you don't have a dress like this one. And I just sounded like Glenda, by the way. That was so Glenda from I bet you don't have a dress like this one. But what's funny is I always took it as oh yeah, I don't think I do. Just over my head, totally not and honestly, I shouldn't assume that her intent was to dig.
Yeah.
Because maybe she just was no one else has my dress. I like my dress. I've never seen it somewhere else. Maybe it was just totally innocent. I don't know. But you're right. That comparison thing, that's my first memory of comparison, I guess. That's interesting.
Yeah. I think it starts from a young age and I think it just kind of amplifies as we get older. And we learn that, especially middle school, high school, college, and even into the real world, we all compare ourselves to everybody,
Yeah, and I'm so curious as to why we always assume negative. We never have the full story. We never know somebody else's full story. I know that there are people that look at me and probably make assumptions about what my life is like or has been like. And I know there have been times that I've been judged before someone knows where my life has been hard, and I find it kind of strange that we just, I don't know, whatever we see, we we connect assumptions about it, and we put people in boxes. But it's amazing how comparison can really impact how we feel about ourselves, how we feel about others, how we view the world. I mean, it really is a very powerful, in a toxic way, thing. And I think it all goes back to those filters that we talked about in the childhood episode too, because it's like when we filter our thinking, like every life experience we have causes us then to like view the world through a lens that is filtered in some way. You know, it's like if I have a bad experience with you, then maybe if there's someone later in my life that comes along that reminds me of you, has the same mannerisms or looks like you, maybe I won't trust them right off the bat. Like it's kind of amazing what our brains do to protect ourselves sometimes. And yet it's not always protecting. It's not always serving us. It's definitely not serving our communities. Absolutely. And when we go back to like not being taught that there's room for all of us as women, that comparison also becomes competition, because I think it's really easy for us to get into a mindset that we don't even realize we're adopting that says, well, is this person better than me or less than me? Because however I categorize them will then reflect back on how I feel about myself. And it's like, why do we give it that much power?
Yeah, it's such a crazy process too. You know, like how you were just saying, like, I think this puts it in a box and then it affects me, you know? And it is crazy how your brain like automatically kind of does that. You spoke in your book that like perfect isn't real. Like there's not perfection, but... And it's interesting because we all have our own ideas of what that is. You know, mine might be different than yours of perfection. But we all compare of what we think are aspects of what we like in other people and dislike. And it's very interesting.
Yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite things to talk about on college campuses. Like, perfect isn't real. Like, going back to last week with lies we believe, I think one of the biggest, most impactful lies, especially for women, is that perfect is real. And sometimes I think we have this pressure to appear to have it all together. And so maybe on a day that somebody does have it really well together, people think, oh, that's not authentic, you know? Or it sparks like a jealousy or something. But then we can take something that we don't like or we feel intimidated by and decide that it's also going to make us feel bad about ourselves because we somehow think it's what we're supposed to be. Like, I think the biggest lie that challenges us sometimes is that perfection exists. Like, perfect is not real. It's not a real thing. Like, there's nobody's life that is without struggle. And yes, like, you know, things come in different packages. But that's where we build resilience. And when we believe that perfection is achievable, all of a sudden we've already lost. We are already failing. And then we hold other people to this unrealistic standard. And then we probably build resentments. But I just think it's this really weird domino effect in like the visual of my ADHD brain. It's like, okay, it all starts like the first little tipping domino is believing perfection is real, because then I've believed other people are capable of achieving it, but I'm not capable of it. And so then what other beliefs that are not rooted in fact does that lead to as the dominoes just like crumble? And then all of a sudden we're like way down here with all these freaking dominoes on top of us. And we're like, how do we get here? And it's like, oh, it actually all started with this one lie that we believed.
Yeah, I think that's such a good analogy because it's like a visual, you know, it's like one thing leads to the next. And if we are going down this path of just negativity towards ourselves, and you're breaking yourself down when you're constantly thinking that you should be somewhere, you should be better, and other people are better than, but that's not true. Growth isn't linear. Growth comes in waves, and you spoke earlier about we grow in valleys, you know?
Yeah.
And
nothing grows on mountaintops.
Yeah.
I love that. Brene Brown said one time, I absolutely loved this, that if you are looking for evidence that the world is against you, you will find it. And if you are looking for evidence that the world is for you, you will find it. And so it's like when we hit a speed bump in life, it's so important that we not take it as a roadblock. It doesn't mean we need to implode. We need to stop trying. We need to see it as, okay, that's a speed bump. What can I learn from it? oh, I just realized maybe I'm stronger than I thought I was. I've got some resilience here. This is cool. Where can we go next? Maybe it won't hurt as much next time. But keep trying, because if we take one negative experience and decide, okay, that is my definitive worldview now, then like we're limiting our potential in so many ways.
Yeah, I think that's even scary. That's like such a scary thought, to like how one thing can impact the entire like way that your brain works and thinks about situations. And like it's sad, you know, like it's sad to like take away something that could be so amazing within yourself too, and you're like just taking that power away, you know, from yourself, and it's self-inflicted.
Yeah, I think one of the greatest moments that I have had in my life has been realizing that it takes nothing away from me to cheer for other people.
Yeah.
So I really do not look at what someone else is doing and then question, am I doing enough? Like now my worldview is, that's awesome. I love that that person is doing something great in the world. I hope they run with it. I hope they're really successful.
Yeah.
And separately, this is what I'm doing. And sometimes it's like, oh, wait, we can collaborate. This is really cool. There's synergy here. Maybe together we're stronger. Or maybe it's that these are different ideologies. That's cool. That's going to impact a certain community. I'm going to impact something different. But like, I really don't think there's anything that is capable of making me feel inferior at this point in my life. And I think a lot of that comes from being an actress. Like, you cannot be an actress for years of your life without hitting a moment where you finally realize that rejection will not kill you.
Yeah.
And once you realize that rejection is just another speed bump, it might be, I found out one time that there was a movie I was being considered for, and the producer told my manager that I looked too much like his ex-wife, and he did not want, like, he just was not open to working with me because of what I reminded him of. And like, I could have been so frustrated by that, but really it was this awesome moment where I was like, oh my gosh, it wasn't about me. Sure. I can go ahead and know I did really good work in that room. I can't control the rest.
Yeah.
And like, I'm going to be the healthiest, happiest human possible if I focus what I rent my space to on what is positive and what is within my control to change. What's positive is I did a really good job.
Yeah.
I knew that I did. What's within my control is simply knowing that that wasn't in my control. It's like, I can't control, you know, what I remind someone of, you know? I mean, I can control whether I went in and I was a jerk and like need to like rethink my behavior. But I have no control over like how my looks or mannerisms reminded him of someone that he didn't want to associate with. Like, it really, in a way, I did not hear that as rejection. I took it as like, oh my gosh, that's amazing, because it has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with what I did.
Yeah.
So there's really not room to feel rejected. Like, yeah, sure, I can feel a little disappointed, but it just helped me to take the focus off of myself and not make everything like, where am I inferior? What am I doing wrong or differently? Because the world of acting, like entertainment, is like, it can be crazy. And there were moments where like I thought someone was my friend, and then I would book a job and then like they wouldn't want to talk to me, and I was like, this is so weird. And again, going back to like, I wasn't always the best with social cues as a kid. Now I am very in tune with like connecting motives with behaviors, but a lot of that stuff really went over my head at a time that really protected me, to be honest, and kept me from like really experiencing rejection. In some ways I probably should have felt it. But all that to say, like, we get to decide every day what we rent our space to, what we give our time to. And if I rent my space to comparing myself to someone else, which insists that I make assumptions about what that person's motives are, or even who that person is, you know, then gosh, I'm giving a lot of my energy to things that are totally outside of my control and probably not positive.
Yeah. And I think going back to college, like comparison in college is honestly one of the easiest things to do. And especially when you're around people who you find beautiful and amazing and wonderful. And it's like, it's hard to find your own individual space where you feel comfortable and confident and not look at other people and be, oh, they got this internship and I didn't, or they're doing this, this, and this, and I am struggling with school or work or whatever. And it's kind of just like an downward spiral that just keeps going and going. And, you know, when we have a certain amount of time, and if you're using that to essentially hurt yourself, that's not going to make your day better. That's not going to improve your day to day or get a better job, you know, like.
Yeah. Okay. So then question, because I think a lot of our audience is in your demographic. What is something that helps you to have aha moments to realize that you're doing that in order to take your power back?
So for me, I think my major specifically, so I'm a public health major, and I knew a couple people who were in public health, especially in my sorority, and they're off doing amazing, wonderful things. And I found it kind of difficult to navigate a career from what I'm majoring in. Mm-hmm. And I found myself looking up to people who are doing amazing things with the same degree. And I had to realize that, you know, I don't necessarily want to go into law, or, you know, I love public health, but I don't necessarily want to do exactly what this person's doing with it. And I wouldn't be the best at that. And, you know, I had to take a step back and how am I going to navigate and not compare how someone else used the same degree? Some people already have jobs that they're lined up for and have worked with amazing companies and have resumes that are 3 pages long, you know, and it's kind of hard to like see that and then look at what you've done, and it's easy to be, oh, I haven't done enough, but we all think differently. And I just think bringing attention to that mentally and taking time, and I just think we need to focus on that more, that like we are individually enough.
Yeah. Well, and I think you really touched on something that I think is really, really important, because there's a shift in, like you're saying, like somebody else has a 3-page resume, like the toxicity, the negative side of comparison, I think connects that to this is better than, this is less than.
Mm-hmm. And it's not
but
true.
The shift is they're different.
Yes, absolutely.
Just like our purposes in life are different. Mm-hmm. Just like our paths will be different. You know?
100%.
I like that you're able to do that. Because one of the quotes that, so I developed a theory. I have a PhD in absolutely nothing, but I share this on college campuses a lot, that I've developed a theory, and so far no one's been able to argue with it. And I like would love for someone to challenge it, but not really.
It's factual.
And my theory is insecurity cannot exist without comparison.
Absolutely. What would you be insecure about if you didn't compare yourself to somebody else?
Right. It's like, it's that childhood thing again. You know, it's like when we're small, we just do what our instincts tell us. And then at some point we get to an age where we are taught that people aren't always kind. And like, oh, well, if I wear this, people might say something. Or, you know, if I go through an awkward phase, then like, you know, we just realize that people aren't always kind, and that we don't just naturally fit into every environment that we should belong in.
In your book, you wrote a cute little note, and you'll go on the Instagram and throw up love to women's posts. And I think that was such a cute little tidbit and a little cute thing to notice on the Instagram, you know?
Yeah. You know, I started College Moxie. Like we're 7 years in. I mean, we've impacted thousands of students now in 4 countries. We've got a 2-time award-winning film. I mean, we are doing amazing, amazing things. And yet it really all started with me and an Instagram account. And I was like, I'm just going to throw up love on people and see what this produces, you know? And it was such a good experience. And I love like when we get new interns, like telling them like your job is to throw up love on people, you know? And it really is my favorite thing to do. But like, just to see the growth that's come out of it has been like fantastic, because that's proving impact, you know, like it matters. And it's also just such a good reminder to get outside of ourselves, and then also realize that we never know what someone else is going through. We never have the full story. And there may be someone whose life on Insta looks totally perfect, and they are screaming and crying inside, and we don't know. And so being kind, even when someone is like presenting a life that may appear to be inauthentic to some, like we don't know. And I really think every human being in life just wants to be seen, to be known, and to know that we matter and we hold value in the communities that we find ourselves in. So taking those moments to get outside of ourselves, I love being able to model that for our interns, and then seeing them too realize like, wow, you might be having a crappy day, but if your job that day is to go throw up love on people, chances are it's going to make you feel better, simply
really
because
does.
we just got outside of ourselves for a minute and we realized the power we have. Like we have the power to bring other people down or lift them up. And in every relationship and every interaction, we get to decide what we're going to do with our power, you know? Like we all have influence. We're not all like high level influencers, but every one of us is an influencer. It's just a matter of like how much we take ownership of the power that we do have, rather than feeling powerless because we're too focused on what we think other people's lives are like.
Yeah. And I think just being in college, it's so easy to do so. And I think specifically college more than like high school or before, because there's so many people from so many different types of backgrounds there, and it's easy to fall into that. But at the same time, I think there is room for every single person, and more of choosing on the day-to-day basis to look at situations with a different lens. Also being compassionate for the people around you, and having compassion for not only your friends but other people, because like you said, you don't know what someone else is going through. You don't know what happened during their day, or what interactions they've had that have been positive or negative. But if even smiling at somebody, like I'll go on runs and I'll just high five random people, and I know it's so dumb, but it's not makes dumb. Me feel good that they smile, and it's something so random, but just doing something like that makes me feel like,
yes, I love that. So I love to go to Disneyland, and I always feel like the people who work in the parking structures are like the least happy people. Yeah. And so I always make it my goal to make them like smile or laugh. And like, I mean, I will just be completely ridiculous in my effort to like get them to just like have a positive moment, because like their jobs probably suck in a lot of ways, you know? They're like dealing with car exhaust all day and like dealing with people that don't want to park where they tell them to park, you know? I mean, it just doesn't seem very fulfilling. But here I am assuming, you know, we can wrap it all back up with that. Oh, I feel like we could talk about comparison forever, and maybe we will do another episode on comparison soon. But I'm glad you touched on the connection with comparison and compassion, because we will dive into compassion in another episode. Perfect. But this has been good. This feels really good. What is one takeaway you have, or one way that you feel like college campuses could benefit from no longer comparing?
I think if the world didn't compare, like you said, probably wouldn't have insecurities. But if we didn't, I think college campuses would be able to have more open conversations and talk about things more openly, and in a way of feeling less judgmental from each other. You know, if we all show each other love and we can feel that compassion from each other, that's how we create the positive relationship.
Okay, so what would you say is your biggest takeaway for how maybe comparison has impacted you, or you can step back from comparison, or like what advice would you have for our audience as far as like where you are in your life right now?
Especially within sorority and Greek life, I've kind of learned that comparison is only going to hurt us. And I think we all need to, like, if we're in chapter, we're around a big group of people, don't look around for the cutest shirt or the prettiest person or someone that you know, be content with that moment and show up with the confidence that you have, and build that and bring that to other people. Fill other people's buckets rather than, you know, taking away from your own. And that's how I feel about that one.
I love it.
What were your takeaways?
Similarly, like the reminder to step outside of ourselves and stop assuming and making everything about us. Like when we realize that we can put good into the world by cheering for others. And like, if we see someone in like an adorable outfit, like, yes, they nailed it, cheering for them. Recognizing that someone else's success doesn't have to take anything away from us. And I think ultimately what that boils down to is there's room for all of us.
Yes. There's space for all of us here.
Yes. We can all 100% fully run forward in our purpose without ever being in the way of someone else's. And what an easier way to go through life if we actually just start believing that. And then we're just focused on what we're doing and we're cheering for others along the way. But we stop somehow believing that someone else's success is our failure.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's the main
gets me
takeaway.
excited.
Everyone's success is not your failure.
No, we can all be successful together.
Yes.
And what an easier way to live. And what stronger, more authentic, trusting, supportive communities will start to build with one another if we really start adopting that mindset collectively.
Yeah.
That can change the world.
It will.
Love it. Thanks for listening to today's episode and for being a part of our community. Be sure to like and follow along to stay up to date with all of the awesome things College Moxie is doing. And thank you for being part of our community. We could not do it without you. Have a great day and keep shining bright.
Bye.